Tim, can you hear me? Okay. Okay, everyone, can everybody hear me? I see a lot of
Yep.
thumbs up. Great. Thank you very much. It's 5:30. I'm calling the meeting to order. Welcome to the February 8th, 2021 City Council meeting. I'd like to ask the city clerk to please call the roll.
Councillor Long Curtis,
Present.
Not yet.
Councillor McLaughlin,
Present.
Councillor Runyon. I see you wave. Councillor Randall,
Present.
Councillor Richardson,
Present.
Mayor Mays.
Present. Okay, item 3 on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to ask Councillor Dan Richardson if he would lead us in the pledge.
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag.
The United States of America,
of
Of
America
America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
liberty, and
Indivisible.
justice for all.
and justice for all.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. Item 4 on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
McLaughlin will second.
It's been moved by Councillor Runyon, seconded by Councillor McLaughlin to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 I believe that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 5 is presentations and proclamations. First, item 5A is the link services update. Is that you, Kathy? Are you going to be presenting that?
Yes, I will, Mayor Rich.
Okay. Please
Can I
proceed.
Can I share my screen?
Absolutely.
Great. Let's see, share. Okay, and then beginning. All right. Are you able to see the screen? Just making sure.
Yes.
Great. All
We
right.
also
So
have
this,
like the city council has a hard copy or a copy in our agenda as well, but we can see the screen fine.
perfect. Wonderful. First of all, I'm Kathy Fitzpatrick. I am the mobility manager for MCED, and my role is to help to coordinate regional public transportation. So within our region, our bi-state region, which includes Klickitat, Skamania counties, Hood River, Wasco, and Sherman counties. And I am helping to present for the link tonight, but I'll end my presentation with a talk about the regional outlook. And so first of all, go to the next slide. First of all, there's been a lot happening despite COVID. The link is really moving forward with fixed routes, many of them based on the Dalles 2016 Transportation System Plan. So thanks to the City of the Dalles, their foresight in inserting within that transportation system plan a really good feasibility analysis that Kittleson had provided for us all. And we were able to, with that feasibility analysis, plan these routes. So the blue route you see there was the one that was launched in April of 2019. Really good ridership. The ridership was increasing until COVID. The red route was just launched in October. And what it does is it gives makes the whole system more efficient, and it provides really important connections to the east. So let's say, for instance, to Lone Pine area and to the waterfront area there where Water's Edge is. and MCMC facilities. So really important connections there. Connections also to Mount Adams Transportation Services, to Greyhound, and to the Columbia Area Express that's run by CAT, which goes all the way to Portland and back a few times a day. Let's see, so I'm going to move on. If there's any questions, you can ask me. Feel free to ask. And the Link wants to say, the Link and MCED want to say big thanks to the City of the Dalles. So really great work with city staff getting bus shelters installed. This was the ribbon cutting that the chamber helped with. And this is right in front of or right next to the Goodwill building. Really important bus shelter site. Also connects with MATS there, with Mount Adams Transportation Services. They also stop there. So really, it was just great working with city staff, the Public Works Department, and also what I've been told is that Public Works donated a lot of their time, and that was really fabulous. I don't know if I know of another city who's been so pro-transit. Usually it's quite a struggle working to get bus shelters and signage in place. So that's the next thing I want to talk about, are all the signs you probably have seen around town, which really help raise public awareness, and especially for those people who need public transit that really don't know what services are available. There's the phone number right there in front of them as they're walking down the street. Also, the annual funds that are provided by the City of the Dalles. Now, the Link and MCED are able to grow those at least by 10 times because we use them as leverage for grants. So with federal grants and state grants, many times we can, let's say if it's a $10,000 match, we can get a grant for $100,000. So really helps us to leverage those funds. Cash is really important for the Link. So what happened with COVID? As you can see, ridership was going in the right direction until COVID hit. And then there was a big slump, of course, as people stopped traveling, as people were afraid to get on the bus. The ridership has been increasing slowly. I think people we're all becoming more aware of how COVID is transmitted, that if we wear masks, if we can socially distance, we can really reduce the spread. The buses are sanitized on a regular basis, and there's great airflow. People are able to safely distance. So there's more trust. There's more faith in the public transit system. And so we are seeing more ridership, which is great. And I think that trend we definitely see that nationwide as well. So planning for the future. This is where I step in. So Wasco County is just about to launch a transit development plan for countywide, which is really exciting. It will build on that feasibility analysis that was done for the 2016 City of the Dalles Transportation System Plan. And it'll take a good hard look at the, and really analyze how the Link can become more efficient, more effective at serving more people within the county itself. And so looking outside of the Dalles, looking west to Mosier and east to Celilo Village and south to South County and all of our towns and townships there in South County. The Gorge Transit Strategy is an ongoing planning process. Some of you have taken part in the working group sessions. It launched last spring, 2020. And we have been working together as a region, as a 5-county region, but including Clark counties and Multnomah counties, TriMet, Metro, and those really important connection areas that are outside of our region, including their voices as well. but we're looking at what a regional transit system, what kind of regional transit system we want. So phase 1 was really developing that collective vision. And phase 2 will be hiring a consultant and looking at the nuts and bolts of making that vision reality. The Gorge Pass. So really excited. July 1st, we'll see an integrated fare system for the 5 county, or for 4 of the county providers. So it'll be the Klickitat, Skamania counties, it'll be Hood River and Wasco counties will be joining together, and all will be offering a single pass that can get somebody from Goldendale to Portland or Goldendale up to Mount Hood Meadows with the same pass and for a really very inexpensive annual fee. So it's been something that all of our partners have been asking for. So whether it's the college, to get college students to the 2 college campuses, whether it's healthcare providers or the Forest Service trying to get people, trying to manage the crowds at certain trailheads. Everyone has been asking for this pass. So the launch will be in July 1st, and we're really excited about that. And these kinds of projects we do with our partners like the City of the Dalles. So we really appreciate your coordination, your collaboration in these types of projects. And now I'll take any questions that you have.
Any questions for Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Hi, Kathy. Long time
Hey,
no
Rod.
see. How are you?
Doing great, thanks.
I was there when all this started. Hey, I'm looking at the expanded routes in the Dalles, which was the second or third slide.
Sure, you want me to go back?
Um,
Let's see.
It's got the blue and the red along the
Yeah.
river.
Sure.
And as I travel on the blue line, where it goes under the freeway, out West First Street to Clint Drive. Okay, you see that?
Yes. Yes.
So it's just a turnaround and they come straight back the whole way, or do they go to the overpass, or?
That's a really good question. And it was something I was just looking at myself because I had to figure out the GTFS data for this. And
Yeah.
what the line actually does is it goes back to the transit center. But
Okay.
for some reason that's not shown on this map. It is something that I've had to work with in the GTFS data. So if you go to Google Maps, you'll see that you go from that stop directly back to the transit center. But
So
it's
it goes
not-
over the overpass and back to the transit center. Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great question. Thanks for noticing that.
Any other questions for Kathy?
One other one. It does not appear to go by the pallet shelters that we've just installed, but it comes pretty close.
Yeah, and I know that the link was working with Darcy on that. And so I'm gonna tap Darcy because I didn't hear an update on what the transportation services were figured out for the pallet shelters.
Okay.
Oh, thanks, Kathy. So basically, the link does pass right by the edge of the pallet shelters. And if people are out there, the bus will stop for them. And I have tried to do that a couple of times. The challenge is when I call either for dial a ride or to let them know someone's going to be out there, they are always asking me for demographic information on the clients, which I don't necessarily have. And so that has been a little bit of a challenge, but we have had a couple of people actually ride on it. It's not convenient to ride to St. Vinny's because it's takes about I forget what the timing was, a little over an hour to ride the bus because of the the way the loop goes. But still, sometimes people are willing to do that if they're not able or willing to walk.
So it actually comes to on First Street, but it will stop at that corner and continue on to Weber, according to the map.
Actually,
So they just
it
have,
jogs
they
down
just have to
Terminal
walk
Way.
a block. Oh,
No, they don't have to walk up a block. It
okay.
on First Street, it comes down Terminal Way and then goes down Barge Way, and we're at the intersection of Barge Way and Terminal Way. So it goes right by us. And I let them know what time it's going to be coming by if they want to go out.
So the map is a little bit not quite in sync with that. All right. Thank you.
Darcy, it would be great to have you as a stakeholder representing, especially the shelter area within the context of the Wasco County Transit Development Plan, so that those types of issues can be highlighted. The issue being,
Okay,
you know, an
thank you.
hour to St. Vinny's is a little unreasonable, I think.
Okay, well, I'm happy to participate in that then.
Great.
Any other questions for Ms. Fitzpatrick?
No, I've been told to cut down.
Not by me. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much, Kathy. Very, very nice presentation as usual.
Thank you. Thanks to you all.
Okay, moving on to item 5B, workers' compensation projections. I know Brianna Wimber is here. Is the staff going to make any opening remarks, or should we turn it over to Ms. Wimber?
Let's just turn it over to Brianna.
Okay, Ms. Wimber, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I'm Brianna Wimber from Stratton Insurance Services. And tonight I am here to talk to you guys about your safe workers comp. Those of you new to City Council, I know insurance isn't normally the most, the best top thing to talk about, but I'm going to change your mind here in a second because the Dallas is doing a pretty good job on their workers' compensation. So I'm going to give a little bit of background on your mod factor, and that's what I'm here to present tonight. So your safe workers' compensation mod factor is based on the last 3 completed years of history for your work comp policy. It takes into consideration how many losses you've had, your time loss, your frequency, and a number of other things that will make up your mod. SAFE assigns a 1.0 mod factor, meaning that is what they consider normal. So if you've got a 1.0 mod factor, that doesn't mean you don't have any claims. It just means that you have what they consider as normal claims. If you're above 1.0, like 1.25, that would mean you have more claims than they think you should have. So I'm going to give a little bit of history here. We're going to go back to the year 2000. So in the year 2000, City of the Dalles had a modification factor of 0.64, which was really good. That means that you guys were really rocking it with the claims. But then in 2015, we got up to a 1.69, which meant that we had quite a few claims. The way that the premiums are affected, I'm going to give you a couple of numbers here. In 2016, we were at a 1.47 mod factor. That gave a premium of $231,000. In 2019, we had a mod factor of 0.98. So we were above 1.0, now we're below it. We had a premium of $115,000. That is how much your mod factor affects your workers' compensation premium. Along with, we want to be under 1.0 because that means that we're getting all of our workers home safe. And that is a big deal. So starting in 2015-16, when we had that higher mod factor of 1.69 and 1.47, it started to go down. it went from 1.69 to 1.47. It went down even further in 2019, where we went below 1.0 for the first time in 20 years. And this year is no exception. We pulled off. City of the Dalles has a mod factor of 0.73. And that is exceptional. That is wonderful. Safe and myself very much enjoy working with your safety consultant, Bailey, and human resources, Daniel. We feel that they do a great job, as well as the managers and the employees, of really focusing on a safe culture, getting home safe to their families at night, doing their work safe. And it's paying off. 0.73 will save you in premium immensely. So it is all good news from SAFE. And yeah, I can't say enough about the staff and managers that I get to work with at City of the Dalles. Everybody does a really great job, and everybody's really open and considerate and willing to do what it takes to be safe. Do you guys have any questions about anything that I just presented?
Any questions for Brianna? I have one I'd like to ask the staff. Mr. Hunter, our Human Resources Director, I assume that a large part of this improvement is due to the Safety Committee, the City Safety Committee. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the Safety Committee, who's on it, how often they meet, and the sort of contribution they've made to the 0.73 mod factor.
Yeah, so I'm not sure who's on it currently. Each department has one representative. Safety officer leads those meetings, and the representative from each department is selected by the employees of that department. They meet on a regular basis, go over any claims from each department, and discuss any corrective action or potential policy corrections or new policies to address any weaknesses in safety in the particular department. And then they go over any looming organization-wide safety issues. Currently, example is the pandemic. Safety officer briefs them on updates for that every time they meet. And they have continued to meet through the pandemic. They've been meeting either remotely or outside.
Great, thank you very much. Any other questions before we move on? Again, congratulations to all concerned for the great progress on the mod factor for our workers' compensation, and keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Okay. Next, item 6 is audience participation. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject which does not later appear on the agenda. 5 minutes per person will be allowed. If a response by the city is requested, the speaker will be referred to the city manager for further action. The issue may appear on a future meeting agenda for city council consideration. Citizens are encouraged to ask questions with the understanding that the city can either answer the question tonight or refer the question to the appropriate city staff, who will get back to you within a reasonable amount of time. Is there anyone that would like to address the city council at this time? See Mr. Don Warren raise his hand. Go ahead, Mr. Warren. You have up to 5 minutes. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. I'm Don Warren, the current president of the Dalles Main Street, as you're all probably familiar. And we got a little bit of new news on new grants, but first I wanted to thank Councilmember Richardson for his time last week as we talked about ideas for COVID recovery and a few ideas on infrastructure improvements and housing inventory increases that we can do for both downtown living and seeing what we can do for expanding use of properties that have large tax lots, might have the ability to have their alleys turned into places. so that people could subdivide or short plat their lot if the city made the investment in turning the alley into a place. So thank you for your time, Mr. Richardson. The new grants, we just got news late this afternoon that there are quite a number that are available because of our contacts in Oregon Main Street. There's a resiliency grant for COVID, which is about $8,500. We weren't able to submit a grant for the pressure washing that we talked with the beautification committee about. So I'm hoping that we might be able to apply that because that's something that might qualify in that category. There's also a significant grant pool for Diamonds in the Rough, which is for historic buildings and archaeology expenses. So historic buildings in town that we might be able to improve, ones that already have grants in progress or that would qualify for those grants. There's also a National Realtors Association grant pool that includes addressing public spaces. So we're going to look into that and see if that is going to be useful for us in looking into and possibly funding, along with the city, People's Plaza down there in Federal that we've been talking about. Let's see. I think that's really pretty much the list. We're making progress on the neon. We've got the electricians put together, and now sometime in the middle of the month, hopefully before the end of this month, we'll have those 4 neon signs lit up. So that's the news. Any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Warren? Seeing none, thank you very much. Great job. I love those new signs too. Those are really nice. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to address the city council? If I don't see your hand raised, just speak up. Judy Merrill.
Hi, yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, thank you. I've had some trouble with the audio. So I'm Judy Merrill, and Mayor and City Council members, I want to share with you how good I felt 2 weeks ago when I attended the goal setting session. It was my first goal setting session to attend, and I was just really pleased to hear all the city council members, each city council member worked so well together, and the process that you all went through, and the sharing and listening that you did. I shared with it at the beautification committee, and I wanted to come here and thank each of you. Some takeaways I came that really touched my heart and stays with me are, I'll just read them off. What do we want the Dalles to be? Who are we trying to attract? Looking at the Dalles, and not just the downtown area, but the whole entire, the Dalles, all the different shops outside the downtown area too. I think it's easy for us to think, some of us to think of just the downtown area, but it encompasses the whole town. The big businesses and taxpayers are outside of our downtown area. And these are just things I hadn't thought of before. And all of you talked about these different issues and brought them to light for me. And asking them, what do the businesses want? And what can the city do for and with the businesses, to survive and to thrive? And I was really impressed with our attorney, Jonathan. I've never met you before, but I was just impressed with your being an advocate for our community, and also your knowledge base and what you shared regarding houselessness and public properties, which just really opened my eyes and really helped me to have a better understanding. And the different departments that shared things too before the goal setting session of the different departments of what you all have accomplished in the past year. So I just wanted to thank the mayor each city council member, Jonathan, and Julie for your great summary that you did at the end of the meeting as far as bringing it all together. I'm just really proud of what you all do. And I've been sharing with different friends about it too. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Judy. As long as you're handing out the compliments, you know, you still had 2 minutes left in your 5 minutes if you want to keep talking.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just-
Yeah, I wasn't timing myself. I just wanted to make sure I got out what I wanted.
No, we appreciate your attendance.
Yeah.
We appreciate
Yeah,
your
that's
attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to address the city council? Okay, I think that is it. Thank you, everybody. We'll move on to item 7, which is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor Mays. I do not have a report for tonight's meeting.
Okay. City attorney report, Mr. Kara.
Thank you, Mayor Mays. Thank you, Ms. Merrill, for all of your comments and for your participation in all of our meetings. Since our last meeting, I attended the Airport Board's visioning meeting last Friday alongside Councillor McLaughlin. Their visioning meeting had a very similar energy and a similar perspective to the City Council's goal-setting meeting, where the board took a hard look at their vision for what they think the airport should be and what they hope it might be, and the ways in which the airport could get there. Not only for them as the board, but also just for the community, which it serves. And so I'll finish my report tonight, which I'll keep brief, with yet another recommendation to all of the councilors, to the mayor, to anybody who would like to attend in the public, some of these airport board meetings to see about the different ways in which our community is coming together there. That's it for me tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Jonathan? Okay, we'll move on. The first counselor I see is Councilor Rod Runyon. Councilor Runyon.
Okay, on January 28th, Q Life Internet Board meeting, that's a combination meeting between the city and the county on the same day. I attended part of the League of Oregon Cities City Day by Zoom, of course. Could not attend the whole thing because I had the Q Life meeting at the beginning of the LOC meeting. Interesting. The 29th, we had our goal setting meeting, of course, on February 2nd. The local public safety coordinating council. For those that don't know, that's a makeup of all of the areas, law enforcement, the DA, the defense attorneys, just everything you can think of that has to do with law enforcement, right down to mental health and NORCOR and the rest. And some things are happening in the community regarding bridges to change and some other issues that are being worked on at this point. And those will come out at a later time. Also on February 2nd, participated in the evening League of Oregon Cities regional call, which took in community members from Cascade Locks and Hood River and the surrounding area to the east. And let's see, on the 3rd, I had the honor to finally meet in person Alice Cannon, our community development director. We had about an hour and it was excellent. And my main goal to go there was what I mentioned to all of the councilors at our last city council meeting, to get familiar with what goes into comprehensive planning and the timelines involved, if there are any, and that sort of thing, because it helps you with your decision process when you realize there is no timeline on a particular thing, or if there is a short timeline before you come to the meeting to discuss it. So we had some good interchange there, and I found it very rewarding. Followed that up with our city manager, Julie Kruger, immediately following. The big one on February 4th, I got my second shot as an on-call worker at NORCOR. I'm a jailer. So I have not grown a third eye yet, but I keep feeling back there to see. but nothing's happened. It's all been good. So don't be afraid when your turn comes. On the 5th, was a Friday, the League of Oregon Cities conference call. I try to make every Friday at midday. And today was after being on the Mid-Columbia Veterans Memorial Committee for probably 10 years or so, I became their new president and chaired my first meeting. And we actually had 8 people in person, even though I set it up for Zoom, and we were socially distanced, 6 to 8 feet apart, and masks if they wanted to at that point. But we were distant to begin with, so it was all great. We had one person on Zoom and one on a phone call, but everybody just decided to get out of the house and come. And it was a good meeting, working with our veterans here in the community, which I think is part of the city's agenda as well. So that's what I did the last week, 2 weeks.
Thank you, Councilor Runyon. Councilor Long Curtis.
And thank you, Mayor Mays. So I just want to remind everyone watching that the Farmers to Families food boxes passed out by the Gleaners will be happening tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. These are first come, first serve, and the line is usually getting pretty long, so I'd probably get there around 9 or so. And I did want to specify that these are fresh food boxes, so we're talking meat, dairy, fruits, and vegetables. No prepackaged food here. The Urban Renewal January meeting was canceled. And I did attend the goal setting with the rest of the council, and I agree with Judy Merrill. We had a very productive meeting, and I thought we touched on a lot of good topics, and I'm really looking forward to the things that the council can work on this year. Let's see. I spoke to the Kiwanis regarding the pallet shelters at their last meeting, and it was a very good presentation. They did record it and put it on their Facebook page, or they have a YouTube also if people are interested in getting more information about that. And finally, the League of Oregon Cities asked me to speak to the legislature and about the League's housing priorities during the city day at the Capitol that Councilor Runyon mentioned. And that was at their press conference before the actual meeting. And that is my report.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 27th, I had a conversation with our police chief, Ashmore, about police department, staffing priorities, homelessness. On the 29th, I participated, of course, in the council and staff goal setting session. And I would like to say especially thank you to you, Mr. Mayor, to the staff for setting that up, and to my fellow councilors for participating. I thought it was a really productive and thoughtful discussion. I'm just very gratified with that. On the 4th, I had several meetings, including an orientation with Director Cannon and Chairman Grossman to the Urban Renewal Agency, and a productive discussion about this coming year's projects. I also participated in the Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs public meeting with Representative Bonham that morning. And a bit later that morning, had a good conversation with Public Works Director Anderson about water supply projects of various kinds, including Dog River, and about watershed management. And over the past couple of weeks, I've also had several constituent meetings and phone conversations on various topics, and also had opportunity to meet our new school district superintendent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Randall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have just a few items. On the 27th of January, the Historic Landmarks Commission had a meeting and they elected officers. They re-elected Bob McNary as chair and re-elected Forrest Urkel as vice chair. They also considered a request to construct a detached garage at the rear of the property at 515 West 3rd Place, the historic Donnell House, which is in the Trevitt National Historic District. There will be no alterations to the existing structure. There was no public opposition, and the application was approved with the usual conditions. They also had a goal setting session, which I think we'll be hearing more about that later tonight. And finally, the Dallas Main Street, as you may all know, erected several vintage neon signs around the downtown area. And so if you haven't had a chance to see those, I know one of them is at the corner of the Sunshine Mill, and I think the other one's at the rear of the Last Stop Saloon. The third one, I didn't really recognize the building or where it was located, but those are all visible in the downtown area, and I think all visible from the freeway as well. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor McLaughlin.
Well, thank you, Mayor Mays. I attended on February 5th, the Airport Commission meeting that was a planning meeting that Jonathan talked about. And I thought it was very productive, and it had looking at the future, also a little bit of looking at the past, but where are we now as an airport and where are we going to go? Some of the things that I concluded from that airport is that the management team is working efficiently with the city and county, and also the administration and staff. The backlog of leases and rental agreements are current. Fuel sales continue to rise at the airport, and discussions on neighboring lands and developments were at the topic of some of the things that were discussed. Here are some of the items: fuel aisle realignment, aesthetically pleasing facilities, especially the terminal building, ground maintenance and how important it is, northeast corner development for extending ramps, increased use of the closed runway, which in the past has been leased to BPA for storage, and that produced quite a bit of revenue. Development, proposed criteria and guidelines on the operation of the airport. Well-developed revenue streams, that's important, of course. T-hangar development, lease terms, standards, and last but not least is extending the runway to be able to host larger planes to come in to the airport. And everything at the airport is going extremely well, and it's in good hands. And that's, well, I did meet with Kenny Lapointe, Director Kenny Lapointe, last week, and that was a very good meeting. And I have high expectations from his agency. So that's my report for this week.
Thank you, Counselor. As far as my report goes, this morning, Governor Brown hosted a session with Oregon Health Authority officials going over a lot of the COVID issues, specifically the number of cases, also the plans for vaccinations and for testing. On the 26th, I did a radio interview with Mark Bailey at KACI. On the 28th, I spoke to the Governmental Affairs Committee for the Chamber of Commerce. On the 1st, I met with Nate Stice, who's the governor's regional solutions representative for this area. On the 2nd, I also, as with Councilor Runyon, sat in on the League of Oregon Cities elected officials North Central Region elected officials conference. On the 3rd, I attended the county board meeting. On the 4th, I met with Public Works Director Dave Anderson about water projects and sewer projects, and also with our police chief regarding some houseless issues. And on the 5th, I attended the League of Oregon Cities weekly conference call. And that concludes my report. Okay, item 10 is the consent agenda. Items of a routine and non-controversial nature are placed on the consent agenda to allow the city council to spend its time and energy on the important items and issues. Any councilor may request an item be pulled from the consent agenda and be considered separately. Items pulled from the consent agenda will be placed on the agenda at the end of the action items section. Tonight, we have 3 items on the consent agenda. One is the approval of the January 25th regular city council minutes. Second is to approve my appointment of Sandy Hakerl to the Traffic Safety Committee and also the Urban Renewal Budget Committee, and also the appointment of Linda Miller to the Plan Commission. And finally, the consent agenda includes the declaration of certain public works property as surplus, although I would like to point out that item 14 on that list has been taken off the list. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor Mays, I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I
Councilor
would like to
Curtis.
pull item B.
I'm
I would
sorry,
like to pull item B.
Item B,
I would like pull, mhm.
okay. I guess we'll discuss that under discussion items. Any objection? Okay. I would like to introduce my nominee for the Urban Renewal Budget Committee and the Traffic Safety Committee, Sandy Hakerl. Sandy, you want to wave? So people, thank you. Can I have a motion to approve items A and C?
I so move, Mayor Mays.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve items A and C of the consent agenda. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Okay, item 11 is public hearings. The first, item 11A is a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for this fiscal year. I trust that our finance director, Ms. Wilson, will be addressing the council on this item.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and members of council, you have before you my agenda staff report for resolution number 21-004, authorizing a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for the fiscal year 2020-21, making appropriations and authorizing expenditures from and within the general fund of the City of the Dalles adopted budget. The City of the Dalles received the CARES Act grant funding on July the 1st. To cover expenses from March 27th through December 31st of 2020. The grant covered the telework capabilities of 63,915, homeless shelters installation along with PPE for public safety measures, and porta potties that came out of the General Service Department budget. On November 14th, a memorandum went out to City Council regarding the additional funding request that came out of the City Council budget. This increased the economic recovery line item that was in the amount of $73,050. And the funding was for Windy River Gleaners, $10,000, St. Vincent de Paul, $10,000, Salvation Army, $10,000, Point Man Ministry, $5,000, and the YWCA, $38,050. The COVID grant allowed any employee position that was dedicated directly to COVID-19 as a reimbursable expense. This allowed us to use the safety officer and some of the police department as the remaining request in the amount of $253,518 to go back into our contingency fund, as we had already budgeted for those amounts in the fiscal year of 2020-21. Due to needing a budget resolution for additional needs for the legal department and for the finance department for additional staffing, the finance department signed a contract with Mid-Columbia Fire Department to contract out services. So we're asking for a total of $85,000 from the contingency to cover those additional requirement needs. We began the fiscal year with a budget contingency of $778,850. And after this budget resolution, if approved, we will have a contingency of $773,343. Staff recommendation is that you adopt resolution number 21-004. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions for Ms. Wilson? Okay, seeing none, I'm looking for a motion to approve the resolution.
Mr. Mayor, this is a public hearing. We need to have an opportunity for comment.
Of course, thank you for reminding me. Is there any member of the public that would like to address the City Council on this resolution? Mr. Warren.
I just wanted to thank everyone for making those monies available to the various nonprofits that help out those people in the community that are in need. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any member of the public that would like to address the city council on this issue? Okay, with that, seeing none, I'd like to have someone make a motion to approve the resolution.
Mr.
Mr.
Mayor, I'll
Mayor.
make a motion.
Counselor Long Curtis, and was that Counselor Runyon? Or was that
Yeah.
Counselor Richardson?
Richardson.
Okay, it's been moved by Counselor Long Curtis, seconded by Counselor Richardson to approve the resolution authorizing or adopting a supplemental budget. Is there any more discussion?
Does the resolution the title need to be read into the record? Just asking.
Yeah, I
Julie?
probably
No,
should
A
actually,
resolution doesn't need
actually,
to be read in.
So the answer to that.
I didn't actually make a motion.
Did I miss something, Counselor Long Curtis? Did you, or did somebody else say something?
Yes, I was saying that I said I would make a motion and then you moved on, assuming that it was to approve, which in fact it is, but I think for the record, I actually have to make an actual motion.
Okay, I believe Counselor Richardson seconded that motion.
She's saying she didn't actually make a motion yet. She said she was willing to.
Oh. Okay.
I'm
I'm gonna
sure
give you
our
a second.
attorney would like me to actually just say it.
I'll give you a
So,
second.
I'm
shot
going to
at it.
move to adopt resolution. I'm going to move to adopt resolution number 21-004, authorizing a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2020-2021, making appropriations and authorizing expenditures from and within the general fund of the City of the Dalles adopted budget.
Counselor Richardson,
I would second said motion.
very good. Is there any more discussion?
Yes, I just want to compliment Angie Wilson, how she's does everything so clear and easy to understand. And I really appreciate that. Excellent job, always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, with that, it's been moved by Counselor Long Curtis and seconded by Counselor Richardson to approve the resolution. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 12A is the authorize the Public Works to purchase a new pickup truck. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of council. One of the items included in the current budget is the purchase of a new service pickup for the Transportation Division. We plan to replace 2 vehicles with the purchase of this one, new one. One of the vehicles to be replaced was a 1975 Ford 1-ton 2-wheel drive pickup that we actually surplused last fall and disposed of through auction because of the maintenance and wear issues that it had. The second vehicle to be replaced is a 1989 Ford 1-ton 4x4 flatbed that was actually originally purchased from our water treatment division. Used to be used in the watershed pretty extensively, and in more recent years has been borrowed by the transportation division to use during for sanding operations during the winter. This vehicle is 32 years old and also is pretty much worn out, has some significant maintenance issues, and really is not worth repairing given its age and the wear. The new vehicle proposed to be purchased would be a 2021 Dodge Ram 5500 4-wheel drive flatbed. This is basically a twin to the last 2 pickups that were purchased for the division in 2012 and 2016. It has nearly 19,000 pound towing capacity, and having it set up as a 1.5 ton pickup with these capabilities allows us to tow trailers with our up to mid-sized equipment. Also allows it to be equipped with a sander and a snowplow in the winter. We sought competitive bids for the purchase of the pickup between dealers and also comparing it to the Oregon State bid price. We set up those bids and requirements so that we attempted to normalize them and required that the purchase price include delivery to the Dalles. The purchase through the state bid ended up being the low bid received, and that was from Ron Tonkin Dodge in an amount of $58,907.60. The adopted budget includes $65,000 for this purchase, so there are adequate funds available for the proposed purchase. And with that, it's staff's recommendation that the council move to authorize the purchase of a new 2021 Dodge Ram 5500 4x4 flatbed pickup from Ron Tonkin Dodge in an amount not to exceed $58,907.60 plus license fees.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Anderson. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Anderson?
I have one.
Councilor Runyon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 1.5 ton, I thought under Dodge's numerical system, a 5500 was like a 3 ton. 2500 was less.
Well, it's up there. I think it might be actually like a 1 3/4, but it's a strong 1.5 ton.
Very strong.
Very strong 1.5 ton. Yeah.
Like the ones we used at ODOT.
And probably for some of the similar uses.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor. Yes, Mr.
Councilman
Mayor, I have a
Curtis.
question. Thank you. How much is the delivery fee from Ron Tonkin?
It's included in that purchase price.
It is. Okay, so
Yes.
you're not going to have to go to Portland and pick it up.
No, that was the attempt on our part to normalize pricing, so that everybody was on the same page as far as delivering the vehicle to the Dalles.
All right. And so my next question is, do we have to take the lowest bid, or could we decide that purchasing locally is worth something to the city council?
I don't believe we currently have the latitude to do that within our current contract review board rules. We don't have an avenue for a preference for local purchases. We're kind of stuck with just the competitive bid process.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the purchase of the new pickup truck.
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the purchase of a new 2021 Dodge Ram 5500 4x4 flatbed pickup from Ron Tonkin Dodge in an amount not to exceed $58,907.60 plus license fees.
Thank you, Counselor. Is there a second?
I'll go ahead and second the McLaughlin second.
It's been moved by Counselor Randall and seconded by Counselor McLaughlin to approve the purchase. Is there any other discussion? Would the city clerk please call the roll? Or, never mind. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay, is there any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 13A is the 2020 Historic Landmarks Annual Report. And I see Dawn Marie Hurt has turned off her mute button, so I assume that you will be addressing the City Council on this item.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Councilors. I am pleased to present to you the 2020 Annual Report for the Dalles Historic Landmarks Commission. As stated in the report, this is the 27th year that the City of the Dalles has been, and the Historic Landmark Commission has been what we call a certified local government. The 2021 preservation funds that were provided to us, or that we were awarded from the State Historic Preservation Office, we ran into a little bit of a kink with the COVID, as a lot of projects have over the last year. And as saddened as I am to lose the potential for a 2-day brick restoration workshop, I am very happy to report that the State Historic Preservation Office has accepted the expansion of our virtual tour. The expansion is going to be a little bit more bells and whistles when we are getting that put together. Right now, a collaboration with the Dalles Art Center and Scott Stevenson and the All Together the Dalles program, the beautiful mural that you'll see on the east end of town, as well as collaborating with the Dalles Chamber of Commerce. So I'm looking forward to getting that project underway, making the modification so that we're still allowed to keep that $12,000 that we were awarded. The other plan is once we get this going, we plan to bring this to the council so that we can provide you a basically like a tutorial and show you what this new virtual tour and all the bells and whistles that we'll have. I want to go, actually, I provided you some 2020 commission goals, some of the goals that were met, as well as some narrative regarding some that are continued to be worked on throughout the years. As Councilor Randall mentioned earlier, we did our 2021 commission goals at the first Historic Landmark Commission meeting of this year. There really weren't any major changes. A lot of the goals obviously were, kind of put on hold and or bumped to the continuous goals. In terms of administration and public assistance, the monies that we do receive from the State Historic Preservation Office do help and assist in funding this program. We did have 7 Historic Landmark Commission meetings that were held in 2020, as well as 9 applications. The other things that we deal with on a regular basis are requests for minor modifications, which are handled at a staff level. So do you have any questions of staff?
Any questions for Ms. Hurt?
Looking for my button, Mr. Mayor, I found it.
Go ahead.
Just one clarification under the 2021 commission goals. The very first item for short-term goals, 1 to 2 years, encourage preservation and reuse of the Waldron Gitchell building. So I realize there's not a lot of words with that there, but I was under the impression in the last 2 to 3 years that we on city council as well as the county had talked about the relocation of that building was what the group was after. So is that still in the works there, that that particular group is going to work towards those goals of moving the building?
And that could, Councilor Runyon. I'm not positive. I think the intent, or at least I know the intent of the Historic Landmark Commission, is to keep this as a goal because their intent is to preserve it in any way, whether it's in location and or relocated. So I believe that group is still active. I'm not 100% sure. City Manager Kruger might be able to give more information on it. I'm not sure. But the commission did believe that they still needed to have that there because it is a historic property in a National Historic District. And if there is any way to save it, having it as a goal sometimes may assist in any type of future funding from another source.
All right. I just want to put it back out there verbally that at one time that was the discussion of the preservation group. So, all right, thank you.
Correct. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions for Ms. Hurt?
I have a comment.
Yes, go ahead, Councilor Long Curtis.
Thank you. So I just want to say that I'm pretty excited that you guys made lemonade out of lemons by expanding the virtual tour of the Dalles. I think that's great, and I'm really excited that this might actually enhance the visibility of the city. And thanks for doing that, and thanks for working with the Art Center to make it a quality project.
Thank you. There are many more bells and whistles that kind of are goosebump worthy that I will share with you at the time that they're available. I've shared some of those with the city manager, and I'm pretty excited to bring that final product to you alongside with the chamber as well as the Art Center.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll move on to item 13B, which is the Middle Housing Code update. I trust that'll be Ms. Cannon.
Mayor Mays and members of council, thank you for this opportunity. We're bringing this project forward to give you an introduction to it as sort of a kickoff, because this project is one that we're currently working on, and we're partnering a lot with our planning commission on some initial policy questions and getting some direction on moving forward. But let me give you a little bit of background on the project. This is a grant-funded project, and it is one that we're pleased to have won some grant money to do it. It is in response to House Bill 2001, which, as you know, our state, the legislature has moved forward a variety of different solutions to resolve some of the housing issues that our communities are facing. And this one in particular is focused on assisting communities in making more opportunities available for what they call middle housing opportunities. So middle housing, what is that? Those would be housing such as duplex units, quadplex, triplex, and then also townhomes and cottage cluster housing. And in terms of the regulations that have been sent down from the legislature to local governments, they're categorized into 3 different categories based on community size, on population. So our community fits into a medium-sized city. And so, and there are the metro area cities as well as large cities have their own set of requirements. And of course, smaller cities don't have to do anything at this time. We fit into the middle category. So for us, what that largely means is that we have to make available every single family lot in the city has to be not only available for a single family home, but also a duplex. So we have to amend and adjust our code to address those issues, address both design standards as well as land use issues associated with that. And so the other opportunity we've had, let me just talk about that here. We also have to provide a clear and objective path for approval of residential development. And I believe you as the council addressed this, some of these issues back in October of 2019 when you adopted some housing code amendments at that time that were in response to the housing needs analysis that the city council had adopted in 2017. But we do have some more work to do in that regard. And let's see, I'm looking through the list here that's in your staff report. So any procedures or criteria that might in any way hinder development of duplexes are things that we need to address. I'm really pleased to say that the Dalles is we're very compliant with the current regulations that came down from the state, that your work that you did as a council and as a planning commission in the community in 2019 addressed many of these requirements ahead of time before the state required cities to do it. What I will say also is that we have an opportunity now, because we're largely compliant, to fix our code. And we have identified a variety of areas in our housing code where we can streamline it, make it more efficient, make it more easy to understand on behalf of our customers. And how can I say it better? Maybe a little less clunky than it is today. So we have some room, because of the good work we did a year and a half ago. We have some room to use some of this grant to fix our code in some ways that allows us to get more leverage out of this grant. So I'm pleased about that. So let me tell you a little bit about the process that we're working on. We have a consulting team that's helping us with this. And so the grant funds are largely being spent to have a consultant help us write up the code requirements or the code amendments that are in compliance with House Bill 2001. And those are coming to us in 3 different batches. So right now we have had a kickoff meeting with Planning Commission, a first meeting in January with Planning Commission where we went through batch number 1 of those code amendments. And in February, the February meeting coming up in about a week, we'll have a review of batch number 2 of those code amendments. And then we'll have an opportunity in March to review batch number 3. the goal is to have all of this work done by our deadline for the funding, which would be June 30th. So there's some work to do at the tail end. That really isn't the tail end. That's the beginning of a lot of our outreach with the community. So we'll spend April, May, and maybe part of June doing a lot of outreach with the community and have public hearings before the final public hearings before the Planning Commission and City Council around that time. Speaking of public involvement, we did, you may have heard about this. I think you received an email and you may have heard about it in the community. We have sent out a survey that tells a little, that's a survey link. We send it to the chamber and some other places and gotten the word out. And we've received pretty good involvement so far from community members. And what that does is tell those who take the survey a little bit more about our project, but ask them some questions about their own experience living in the Dalles, as well as some of their preferences for housing in the Dalles. So we're hoping that we can use those good results. I think we're going to do at least one more round of survey work with the community. And I'm listening. I had a really good conversation with Councilor Runyon last week about making sure that we tie in community resources such as the chamber and other groups and their mailing list to make sure that everyone in the community has access to this survey. This link did get embedded into our most recent utility bill for the record. So where do we go from here? I'm happy to, of course, answer any questions, but I wanted to let you know that it is our plan to, we've been having these wonderful discussions, policy level discussions with Planning Commission about housing. And we want to bring those policy questions here, those high level ones, so that you can also weigh in. I think the worst thing that could happen for all of us is for you to wait until the very end of this process and get that, I don't know how you make that sound, that whoomp sound, where all these code amendments come before you and you don't have the time or the space to review them. And so what we want to do is bring you along, just as we've been doing with the City Council, the Planning Commission, and ask you similar questions so that it can feed into the final product when it comes to you later in the spring. So I guess with that, Dawn, did I miss anything? Do you want to add anything to what I just said?
The only thing I wanted to add was that we did share the link also on the city's website, as well as for Facebook, city's website, as well as Facebook. And I personally shared it. I'm very careful on what I share on Facebook, but my posts on some of the main pages that are like the Dalles happenings, those have been shared, and it looks like we've got quite a few hits on the survey already. So that's really, really great getting that public outreach component met.
Is that your report, Ms. Cannon?
Yes, Mayor, happy to answer any questions that you might have about our project. And we plan to be back before you in about a month or 5 weeks, something like that.
Does the council have any questions for Ms. Cannon? Councilor Runyon.
Mr. Mayor, just to put a punctuation mark on how hard this project is, in the second sentence of the background, where it says, and it's a run-on sentence, goes on quite lengthy, the Oregon Legislature adopted HB 2001 requiring cities to provide more housing choices. They should have put a period right there. It says, comma, especially housing choices more people can afford. Affordability is driven by the market and the population and all kinds of definitive actions that I just hope the state sent you a really good graph on how they're going to make that fit into that little box in order to do this report.
Thank you, Councilor.
Okay, any other comments or questions? I have a couple. House Bill 2001, Councilor Runyon just alluded to the second sentence, and it makes it sound like we have to implement city housing strategies and provide more housing, like Councilor Runyon just said. But I thought it was more specific to allow duplexes in single-family zoning areas. Is it that specific, or is it more general, like the third sentence implies?
Mayor Mays, you are correct, so that it's really addressing allowing duplexes where single-family homes are currently allowed inside the city.
And then in your second bullet point at the bottom of the page,
Mhm.
a clear and objective path for approval of residential development. Is that another way of just saying that we're making it easier for a developer to get approval, or is there more to it than that?
No, Mayor, this goes back to some court cases from back in the 80s and 90s, where we're required as a city for residential development, we are required to ensure that we have clear and objective standards for housing. So what that does is it can't be discretionary. We can't sort of decide as in a subjective way what complies or what doesn't comply. We have to have standards. For instance, here's an example that came out of our current code as it's written today. I think there's a standard for single-family homes, or maybe it's duplexes, Don. But I'll paint a picture here, and I may or may not be accurate with what I'm describing. But I think one of our standards says in our code today says that the front of every dwelling unit shall have a front door appearance to it, and it doesn't describe in any objective way what a front door appearance is. And so what this will do is we have another section of the code that describes a front porch shall be at least 6 feet by 12 feet wide, should have some dimensions. So that is something that we as planners can measure, and we can determine compliance rather quickly, as opposed to that sort of subjective way that codes are sometimes written. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much. Ms. Hurt.
So I was just going to add that the word is a traditional front door. So by having clear and objective standards, like Alice stated, it gets us away from anyone having their own interpretation as to what traditional truly means. So,
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
One brief one, Mr. Mayor, if I might.
It's Council Richardson.
Director Cannon, you listed off a number of things, types of dwellings that we would have to basically allow on any single family lot in the Dalles, duplexes, et cetera, et cetera. Does that include those accessory dwelling units?
Mayor and Councilor Richardson, response to that is this law primarily applies to duplexes. So it's the larger cities and the metro area cities in Portland that are required to provide all those other types of housing. What I'll say is we already have cottage cluster housing in the Dalles because you as a council adopted those standards back in October 2019. But in terms of ADUs, there were some other state laws that were put in place about a year ago, I think. I'm looking over at Dawn, that we all had to comply with, that we currently comply with in terms of making sure that we allow detached accessory dwelling units, and we allow certain size accessory dwelling units. So we are currently compliant with state law as it relates to ADUs.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions for the staff? Seeing none, thank you very much for the report, and we look forward to hearing back from you guys in, like you say, a month or two.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have to circle back to item 10B, which is the mayor's appointments. Councilor Long Curtis, did you want to, you wanted to address that issue?
Yes, just a couple things. The resolution currently has Sandy Hakerl's name misspelled. It should be H-A instead of H-O. And then the other thing that I wanted to discuss, when we approve this resolution tonight, because I'm assuming that we will, we are going to be adding another member to the Planning Commission who is over 70, and the commission is currently weighted toward people who are old enough to draw Social Security, and they have a lot of history and a lot of experience. But I would like to see more of a balance on pretty much all of our committees, actually, that's more representative of our demographics. I'd like to see younger people. I'd like to see some more women, which of course, your current appointment meets that standard. And I really think that we should have younger people who have ideas about what they want the Dalles to be in the future, because they're the ones that are going to have to live here. And they're the ones that are coming up in through the leadership ranks. And at some point, they are going to be taking over and making decisions. And we need to have them meeting with the experienced people and learning why we're doing things the way we're doing, and what is their history that needs to be brought forward, or is it time for change?
I'll just mention that I agree with that. And I have tried to, in all my appointments, tried to attract younger people to all the boards and commissions. I'll also point out that of the 6 members, current members of the Plan Commission, I have appointed 4 who are all under the age of 50, I believe. Philip Mosher, Cody Cornett, Alan Easling, and Carly Aparicio. So Linda Miller would be the first one that would be older than that. Also, there's a certain restriction based on who else has applied for these positions, but I do share Councilor Curtis's goal to get more young people involved with the boards and commissions, and I'm always on the outlook to find and attract people like that. Any other
Mr. Mayor?
questions? Go ahead, go ahead, Councilor Runyon first, and then Councilor Long Curtis.
I don't disagree with that, but it's a matter of, society here, it seems like. I was at the Dells Area JC when I was 21, and we had a spot on the Community Action Council, known as MCAC today. And I was a planning commissioner at 30 or 31 for 4 years for the city of the Dells. You got to find people who want to. You may find a few, but it seems harder and harder to get young people to commit to something. The county has 43 committees. The city, I'm not sure how many we have, but that's a lot of volunteers. So it's very hard. And it is hard to find young people to be involved. All of the committees I'm involved with are having the same thing, same kind of problem. Only I'm just trying to find people in their 60s to be on a few of my committees, some young people. But it's just very hard. Darcy, it's a noble goal, but it just doesn't seem to be going that direction. If they want on, when they're advertised or put out there, I think we're all more than willing to listen and look at their opportunities to be on committees for the city. I know I am.
Councilor Long Curtis, just before I turn it over to you, I just want to point, I did have 2 other applicants that were both younger in age, but they both moved out of the area before I could appoint them. So, but go ahead, you have the floor.
You know what? I think I'll wait and speak last. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody
It
else?
looks like Dan Richardson wants something.
Anybody?
I was not planning to say anything, but I do want to say I agree and laud the goal of getting younger people. I think I'm the youngest person on council, and I'm on my, one might say, later 40s. So there's a few, decades worth of representation we might look to recruit from. It may be difficult. It's difficult being a younger person now than maybe it used to be, with just the way society has changed and debt structures and things have changed. I wonder if something like a soft goal or soft commitment from the city councilors, just to each of us find, someone who's younger than ourselves to participate in the next year or to apply, say, might not be, a worthy goal.
I would agree with that. Anybody else have a comment or question on this item?
I would just add one thing, Mr. Mayor. I can't remember what we called it, but our assistant to Julie, city manager, can't think what his name was. He went to the county. Anyway, we had that group meeting where we invited people to come and learn about the city and whatnot. You gained several young people out of that who applied. What was the name of that call? There was a title for it, but it was to learn about the departments of the city and how they work and all that sort of thing.
Citizens Academy is what it was.
Citizens Academy. And that worked really, really well. And if it's feasible, maybe we do it more than once a year, but we did find some good people out of that.
Yes, I agree. That was pretty successful. I wish we could get that going again as soon as the COVID crisis passes.
Yeah.
Councilor Long Curtis, did you have some closing remarks?
Well, yes. So when I started bringing this up as a discussion item, I was very clear that I thought that this was going to pass tonight, and I'm not in no way opposing the resolution. I simply wanted to have a discussion on the record publicly so that the public could see who's in favor of what and who's defensive about this. And that's all I wanted to do. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. With that, would anybody like to make a motion to approve item 10B on the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve item 10B.
Second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved by Councilor Long Curtis and seconded by Councilor Randall to approve item 10B of the consent agenda. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all very much. And again, thank you to Sandy Hakerl for volunteering for the Traffic Safety Committee and for the Urban Renewal Budget Committee. And she is still present. So thank you, Sandy. Okay. We are not going to be going into executive session in accordance with ORS 192.6602E. We will be going into executive session to conduct deliberations with persons that we have designated to negotiate real property transactions. In addition, we are also going to an executive session in accordance with ORS 192.6602G to consider preliminary negotiations regarding trade or commerce in which we are in competition with other states or nations. I believe everybody has the link to go into executive session, so we'll see you on the other side. Thank you. And we'll be coming back into open session as soon as our executive session is over.